What up, mathletes? Whoop, whoop. All right, we're going to get into this. This is 5.2, and learning target is I will use point slope and standard forms to write an equation. I will use point slope and standard form to write, or forms to write an equation. Boom. It's good stuff today. So for y equals mx plus b, we know, and this is, by the way, this is slope-intercept form, right? Slope-intercept. Yeah. We know that our slope, m, is equal to our growth factor, which is our slope, which is our rise over run, change in y over change in x, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is our rate of change. All good stuff that you'll need today. And today, we're talking about point slope form, which, and this is going to be a little mind-bending, but don't worry, you're going to get it real nice. It says y minus y1 is equal to the slope times x minus x1. Just plugging in numbers for the point x1, y1. Okay? So we're saying given a point and a slope, we're just going to plug them into this equation right here, to this nice little form. So we're talking about the equation of the line that passes through the point 4, negative 6, and has a slope of 1/2 is. So, again, we're talking about a point, right, an xy point, and there's a line that goes through. We want to talk about that. This particular one is the point 4, negative 6. So this is our x, this is our y, or you can even label it x1, y1, right, to help you out. And so, what am I going to write down? I'm going to write down my y minus, and what's my y1? It's negative 6. And that should equal my slope, which we're given is 1/2. So we know our m equals 1/2, right? Times x minus, right? X minus. And then what's our x1 we're given? 4. Boom. And we know that these two negatives make a positive, so y plus 6 is equal to 1/2 times x minus 4. And that is point slope form. Now, don't forget, we want to change this to slope-intercept form is what it's asking right here. So let's change this to slope-intercept form, which is just y equals mx plus b, right? And how are we going to do that? Well, to go from point slope form to slope-intercept form, all we got to do is solve for y. So if I'm looking at my y plus 6 equals 1/2 x minus 4, I'm going to go ahead and do the first step right off the bat. I'm going to distribute that half. So I'm going to get y equals, or y plus 6 equals 1/2 x. And what's half of negative 4? It's negative 2, right? That almost looks like mx plus b. We just need to take that plus 6, subtract it over, excuse me, and I get that y equals 1/2 x minus 8. Boom. Y equals 1/2 x minus 8. This is almost easier than the triple substitution from our last lesson. It's very nice. Just by solving for y, we already have our y-intercept. We already knew our slope, but now it's much easier to graph. Perfect. Okay, let's keep rolling. Again, pause this if you need to at any point in time. I'm just going to keep rolling on. Okay, let's look at this word problem here. During a trip to Belgium, Jerome and a few of his friends exchanged their dollars for euros at a bank. The table shows how many euros each person received after paying the bank's fee. What is the rate of change or the slope? Well, let's look right here. I can extend this. This is really just a fancy XY table, right? And we know that our slope, which is the same as our rate of change, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In other words, subtract the y values, subtract the x values, and divide them. So it doesn't matter which 2 points you pick, but I'm going to pick these x values and these y values, right? So I'm going to start out with my 108.69 subtract 99.75 all over my 135 minus 125. because we're going to want to have a calculator, or use it on your Chromebook, right? 108.69. 108.69, subtract. What are we subtracting? 99.75. That equals 8.94. So that is going to be 8.94 all over 10, which when you divide or multiply by 10, you just move the decimal, or by powers of 10, you move the decimal point. However many zeros there are, there's 1 0, so we're going to move it over 1, which means this equals 0.894, and it's euros per dollar, right? So that's how many euros you're going to get for every dollar you trade in. Okay, now that I have my slope, I know that m equals 0.894. What are 3 different ways you could represent the situation using the point slope method? Well, we have 3 different points here, right? This is an xy point, xy point, xy point. So we're just going to use those. So for our first xy point of 125.99.75, I'm going to plug it into the point slope formula, which just says y minus my y value, which is 99.75, is equal to our slope, which is 0.894, times x minus our x value of 125. Boom. And that's it. That's the point slope form. What? It's that easy. Let's look at 2. 2, again, what's the next point? It's going to be 135, 108.69. And I'm going to plug that in. Y minus 108.69 is equal to our slope of 0.894 times x minus 135. Boom. And last but not least, if I'm looking at the last point, which is 150, 122.10, I'm going to have y minus 122.10 equals 0.894 times my x minus 150. Again, pause it if you need to, but that's really all we're doing. I just want to know that you can put them in point slope form. And what's really cool is if I were to solve each one of these, they would actually come out to the same y equals mx plus b equation. Okay? It'd be a little weird looking because we've got a lot of decimals going on, but they would be the same thing. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next page. We're going to talk about standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. Now, what do we know about the x term? It must be positive. And there can be no fractions or decimals or whatever. We want to keep these whole numbers and integers, right? So let's practice. Convert the following to standard form. So this right here, you'll notice, is in y equals mx plus b form. So it's like slope-intercept. Go into standard form. One of 2 ways we could do it. I'll show you both ways. So for y equals 4x minus 9. Some of you may notice x has to stay positive. And this is already positive, so we don't want to subtract it over, or it'll be negative, right? So if that's you can subtract y over. And if we do that, we're going to need to add 9 to both sides. And I end up with 9 equals 4x minus y. Right? So those cancel out. And because I want them flipped on the other side, I'm just going to do that. 4x minus y equals 9. And we're done. Oh. Another way you could have solved it. You may be like, hey, I know I need x negative, but I'll take care of that later. I need to get everything to the left. Inside my brain, it makes more sense. Okay, let's do that. Minus 4x, minus 4x. It's going to be minus 4x, and that's a positive y, so plus y equals negative 9. What can I multiply through and distribute that would keep the digits the same but change the sign? Well, I can multiply everything by negative 1, correct? So because of that, I'm doing times negative 1 to everything. So I'm going to distribute. It's just going to make everything opposite. 4x minus y equals positive 9. Same answer. The one that can get a little bit challenging is this one. This one is in point slope form, right? Y minus 1 equals negative 2/5 times x minus 3. Can't have fractions. That was the number 2 up here. So what do I need to do? Well, in this case, I am going to multiply by a number that will get rid of the fraction. What can get rid of a denominator of 5? Well, that's like divided by 5. The opposite of that is times 5. So whatever the denominator is, that's what we multiply by. And that's going to cross out here, but I've got to do times 5 on this side and distribute it. And I'm going to get 5y minus 5 equals negative 2 times x minus 3. Boosh. Look at that. Now let's distribute this out, and I get 5y minus 5 equals negative 2x plus 6. So I'm going to add that 2x to both sides. Now I've got a positive x, right? So I'm going to add this 5 then to get it over here. And I get 2x, that's a positive 5y, equals, that cancels out, 6 plus 5 is 11. And now we have this in standard form as well. Okay, again, if I ever move too fast or anything like that for this video, just pause it, go on. We're about done for today, so we're going to write an equation in standard form with a line. What if I just give you 2 points? The line that passes through the point, negative 1, 3, and 2, negative 3. Well, in this case, I want to go in standard form, but first, I'm going to put it in point-slope form. Okay? I could even do slope-intercept. That's really up to you, but I'm going to do point-slope form today. So first thing I'm going to do, I should say put, not punt. I'm going to go ahead, and you'll notice, by the way, on your form, this should be 2 and this should be 3, so there's that little mix-up there. So sorry, I changed things around a little bit, but this is where we're at. Maybe it is. No, I did 1, 2, 3. Never mind. This is what the form looks like. I just forgot to change that. Okay, so we're going to find the slope. How do we find the slope? M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So that is going to be, we're just going to take our y's and subtract them. Negative 3 minus 3. And 2 minus a negative 1. All over my x's, 2 minus negative 1, which that becomes a plus. So I end up with negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. All over 2 plus 1 is 3. What does that equal? That equals negative 2. All right, so now we have our slope is negative 2. So we're going to put it in point slope or slope intercept form. I'm going to go ahead for you guys here, and I'm going to do both. So for point slope form, point slope, I have 2 different ones I can do, don't I? I can either put it into the first point, which is negative 1, 3, and I would get what? So for negative 1, 3, I'll get, all right, y minus 3 equals our slope of negative 2 times x minus negative 1, which would be y minus 3 equals negative 2 times x plus 1. Or I could do, for the point 2, negative 3, y minus negative 3 equals negative 2 times x minus 2, which is really just y. Oh, you can't see that. I'm so sorry. Y plus 3 equals negative 2 times x minus 2. All right. If I'm going to do slope-intercept, then I'm going to need to use a little bit of triple substitution, right? I know that y equals mx plus b. And again, we just pick one of our points. Both will come out with the same b, but I'm just going to do one. So I'm going to do it for the point negative 1, 3, and m equals negative 2. I'm going to have that 3 equals negative 2 times negative 1 plus b. So in this case, 3 equals positive 2 plus b, subtract 2 over, and I get that 1 equals b. So now I know y equals negative 2x plus 1. All right, so we have our 2 different point slope forms and our slope intercept form. Now I want to put it in standard form. So let's do it with point slope first. So for point slope, I have my 2 equations, right? That, by the way, I told you should come out the same. Let's find out if that's true. I first of all have y minus 3 equals negative 2 times x plus 1. Let's do that one first. I'm going to distribute this negative 2. I get y minus 3 equals negative 2x minus 2. And I need to get my x on the left, so plus 2x to both sides. I need to get rid of my minus 3, so plus 3 to both sides. And I get 2x, that's a positive y, so plus y. That's gone, equals, that's gone. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 2x plus y equals 1. Let's see if the other three come up with that same answer. They should. Let's try it with my second one. I had y plus 3 equals negative 2 times x minus 2. Okay, multiply those out. I get y plus 3 equals negative 2 x plus 4. Again, add 2x to both sides. And I'm going to subtract 3. What do I get? 2x plus my y, which is positive. That's gone, equals, that's gone. 4 minus 3 is 1. Look at that, same and same. And then let's try our last one. So for y equals negative 2x plus 1, let's see what we get. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. 2x plus y equals 1. Same as all the others. This one was incredibly easy. So it's incredibly easy to go from slope-intercept to standard, but it's a little more work in the process of getting the slope-intercept. So kind of a 6-1/2 dozen the other. The last thing I want to talk about today is parallel versus perpendicular. And if it's a parallel line, we use the symbols like that. And here's what I know. If my slope is equal to 2, my parallel slope equals 2 also. Same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular. This one has a little more work to it. And the symbol for perpendicular is that little right angle right there. Okay? Which means they're going to meet at a 90-degree angle. For a perpendicular slope, if my slope is 3/5, then my perpendicular slope is going to equal negative 5/3. It is the negative flip. Or negative reciprocal. Flip and reciprocal are the same thing. All right? So what does that mean? Let's give you a couple more examples just so you see it played out a couple different ways. My slope equals 2. Remember, I can always write that as over 1. So my perpendicular m would equal negative 1 over 2. Right? Because I could have written that over 1 and then I just flip them and negate them. In the same way, if I have an m is negative 1/5, well, what's my perpendicular m going to be? Well, I'm going to flip it, so it's going to be a 5. And then what does a negative negative make? Makes a positive. So perpendicular slope would be positive 5. All right? So, got to kind of section it off there from the last problem. Lots of stuff right there, but we're going to talk more about this. Good examples in the homework. With that said, peace out.